All right, guys, welcome to Yuma, Arizona. This is a park where we are going to be taking a tour with Jimmy, our property manager. We've owned this park for about 3 years. I bought this park with no money down. The seller took no down payment, has seller financed the property to us for 30 years. And it was a property that I'm in no money out of my pocket. However, it's another park that I've taken no money into my pocket on purpose. We've been letting our property manager, Jimmy, take the excess capital that we've been making every month, $4,000 to $7,000 a month, and reinvest it back into the park over the last couple of years. Just last year, in 2023, we raised rents 20%. We were bringing in $8,000. I think we're roughly at around $11,000, something like that in rents. And that's because Jimmy is a bad. So we're gonna do a tour with Jimmy today, talking about the history, what has he worked on. And then we've got our asset manager, Bo, who runs our whole portfolio. Bo is meeting Jimmy for the first time. Even though they talk, Bo is in Miami, Jimmy is in Yuma. So I get this question all the time, how do you manage your portfolio? I go, I don't. Much more intelligent people than myself manage the portfolio. They talk to each other. Bo is here meeting with Jimmy, and we're gonna have maybe a little bit of a strategy session on what are the next steps for the park, what does the future look like. Now are we gonna start taking profits out of this, or are we gonna keep investing and investing and investing? So we also have about a dozen people with us. Eric, show everybody who's with us. From Fiji, Buffalo, New York, and I want to encourage all of you guys to ask questions today because your questions will encourage Jimmy to tell us more stories. We have, how many residents do we have here?
We've got 32 units and about 25 or so tenants.
Okay, so we have 25 residents, 12 chickens, and about 12 people visiting the property today. So there's about 50 living souls on the property today. These chickens, who owns them?
They're yours. Free.
These are our chickens.
Part of the deal. Part of the deal.
These are our, wow, that's a rooster.
Wow.
Like they're just out here just making babies at our park.
Oh yeah.
There was a TTP student, actually one of Brent Daniel's students, comes across this property. Seller wanted too much money on a cash purchase. And Steve, who was a brand new Subto student at the time, was like, wait, I know that we can solve these kind of problems as long as the seller's willing to give us favorable terms. Let's offer something. And we paid a $30,000 assignment. How much did you make out of that? Did you make half?
No, I made 75% of it, so like 22.
Okay, so you made $22,000. And what I told Steve at the time is I said, let's keep buying parks here in Yuma. And we bought a second park. The second one is like 12 units and it's at 0% seller finance. We decided, hey, it's no money down. I did have to come up with $30,000 to buy the property, meaning commission or assignment fees and closing costs. How did I pay that $30,000 back? At the time, I was heavily wholesaling, tons of wholesale. And so I just took wholesale fees from other properties and I paid that off. Very simple, nothing magical. People always ask, how do you pay your private money lenders back? Sometimes it's from cash flow. Sometimes it's from refinances. Other times it's taking profits from other properties and paying them off. But today I own this property, it cash flows, but I've never taken a dollar. So let's talk, we're gonna walk through with Jimmy. I'm gonna ask Jimmy, what have we done? What do we still have to do? And you guys just kind of get to be a fly on the wall throughout the rest of this video. Whatever question you guys have, please ask, okay? By the way, you guys wanna see my biggest private money lender right here? They remember you, Angela, from the Springfield videos.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Why would you buy a mobile home park over a multifamily, like small apartment building? Are the tenants less to manage? Is it easier to manage a mobile home park? Is there any advantage to having a mobile home park over other asset types?
Oh yeah, definitely. So even though the turnover can sometimes be a little bit higher if you own the units and you're renting them out, the turnover is higher because it's a lower dollar amount for the rent. But there is a big secret that most people don't know about trailer parks, and that is there is no attached property, which means the property taxes are low.
Yes.
A 30 unit, apartment complex will have thousands and thousands of dollars in property tax. This one's probably less than $2,000.
A year?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Dude, I've got one single family property in Atlanta, Georgia, where my property taxes are $28,000 a year. Now, I remember this used to be a unit that was the office at one point?
Yeah, it was. So this is actually one of the first units that we began to do some rehab work to. because it was here in the front, and it actually didn't require that much work until we got into it and realized we had to replace most of the subfloor in it.
Oh, wow,
But
okay.
we also knew that we could capture the most amount of rents here because it's a larger double wide trailer, and so we were able to, I mean, it's a big 3-bedroom.
So this is a park-owned property?
This one is, yeah.
How much are we renting this for?
This one I believe rents for $850.
And that includes the house and the dirt?
It includes
Total.
the house and the space rent, yep.
Okay,
Yep.
How many trailers here are park-owned versus tenant-owned?
The majority are park owned, and I believe we have 8 that are owned by tenants.
They did.
So this one we're actually going to rent out to a person who's going to help us. They're going to help us keep the place clean.
Okay.
So we've hired him. He actually works for me at our AC company. So he's very handy. So he's going to finish doing the renovations once we get power turned on. And this would normally rent for about $400. We're going to rent it to him for $200, but his job is going to be the trash man. He's got to go clean up, and he's got to go in between our monthly cleanups or our weekly cleanups. He's got to go and pick up trash around the park and make sure that dumpster doesn't overflow.
So he kind of becomes the de facto like daily manager of the property?
Yeah, I think so. And so we want him right here in the front so he can see who's coming in and coming out. And you know, he's worked for me for 20 years, so he's
Think
very
about how
loyal.
beneficial this is. I know like nobody in this caravan, definitely not Bo. Bo lives in downtown Miami, like in a high rise, right? Nobody here would ever live in a unit like this, and I get that. But what's great about mobile home parks as well is that it does provide affordable housing for people. Like $200 a month? That's insane. The average rent rate in the United States is near $2,000 a month. Somebody can live in this for $200 a month. Even if he wasn't our manager, like helping out with the trash stuff, he'd be at $400 a month.
400, yeah. Yeah, even twice that is not that is not that significant.
Even if you said $800 a month, I'd be like, yeah, this is actually a good deal for $800 a month. I know that's not the going rate here in Yuma, but still, like nobody else. Where can you afford to live for $400 a month?
He had a unique situation. So he lives in Mexico, but he's a U.S. citizen, and this is very common in Yuma. So he lives in Mexico, and during this time of year, it's taking him 5 hours to cross the United States every day. So if you got to be at work at 6 a.m., what time are you getting in line to get through customs to get here? So he came into my office and goes, "You got anything I can stay in? Because what's the cheapest thing you can do?" So he had this significant problem. I said, "Great, if you can pick up trash here, we can have you stay here for $200."
Yeah, love that.
And now he can show up. He can sleep more.
Yeah.
So he's gonna use this as.
So you got a wife and kids?
He does. Yeah, he does.
I just want to remind you, people out there that are like so damn entitled and spoiled. People come to me and go, "How do you do your work-life balance?" Guys, there's people in life that are traveling 5 hours every day to work. They don't see their wife and kids. They're sending, especially people in Mexico, they're sending money back home. This guy won't see his family for 5 days a week.
Right.
And some of you guys are complaining that you guys see your kids 4 hours a day. You're like, "Oh, I don't know how you do it." Guys, people have been doing this for a long time. Freaking wake the hell up. That guy had, talk about sacrifice, like trying
Big
to
time.
support his family. It's a lot of sacrifice.
It's a very common story in Yuma, and the housing.
So you have a
cost is
lot
so low.
of people living in Mexico traveling here daily to work.
Oh yeah.
When would you typically raise the rent on something like this? Would you say, when does something like this go from $400 to $600 a month?
I think once we complete some of the community projects that I want to do, right? We need to put some decorative rock in here. We need to paint the remainder of the units. I think once we start doing those community improvements, now people aren't living in a construction zone and a work in progress. I think then we can begin to raise up the.
Could you rent this out for $600 a month in the next 18 months, 24 months, something like that?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. If economy holds up, I think we can do it.
Okay, cool. I mean, here's the thing that's interesting too about mobile home parks is that this is where people run to when the economy does crash. What I want to point out to everybody watching is that a lot of people think that real estate investing is a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not, obviously. This is really good proof of that. And yes, you can get stuff for no money down, right? You got people that call me out and they go, "There's no way you can buy something with no money down." No, we bought this with no money down. And what we're smart about is getting a quality, badass human being that cares. He's making decent money. You make decent money managing. And you take the management fee, and then you take whatever's left over and you reinvest it back into the park. Now, while I haven't been able to pay grocery bills or cell phone bills with that money, we're building equity, right? And we're building future higher rents. We've probably doubled rents here in the last 3 years, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, I mean, easily, just on what's being collected now versus then. I mean, it's unbelievable. And not only that, we're starting to get, we're not there yet, but we're starting to get a sense of pride in the community.
Yeah.
We had some units in the back that were squatted on, and for who knows how long, months, right? Nobody said anything. But the second somebody showed up to this one, all of a sudden the community is starting to call us saying, hey, there's somebody there that's not supposed to be there. And that was shocking to us.
That's cool.
That was a paradigm shift in this neighborhood, that now somebody cares enough in this neighborhood to say, hey, those people don't belong here.
Leadership and culture comes from the top. So you coming in and revitalizing the community and putting new skirting and painting and doing all these things, people are like, wait, I live in an actually pretty cool little community, and they start taking pride, they start watching out.
And they see why their rents are going up.
Right.
They're like, okay, you're actually doing something with it.
Yeah, and for $50 or $100 extra in rent, like
Yeah.
for the quality that they have now.
Yeah.
I remember coming back here, you have piles of trash around these trailers
Yeah, it was
that
really
people
bad.
are living in
It
that.
was really bad.
It was really bad.
It was stacked up. It was stacked up really high.
So this one, you're gonna have a Subto manager living in here. This one, you were gutting it. You found out this was a little bit better, nicer on the inside than you originally planned. So you're instead of hauling this off, we're gonna keep this one, correct?
I'm considering it. Bo and I had talked about getting it out of here because, on the outside it looks like it just needs to go. And this was one of our first evictions we did in the park, the person who lived here. And the reason we evicted them is for health and safety reasons. The floor was collapsing, there was water leaks, and it deteriorated the floor. And so when we finally went in and did an inspection, we said, this is not habitable. We need to remove this tenant for his safety.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to go. He wanted to just stay living here. So we actually had to go through the eviction process. It wasn't safe, it wasn't clean.
Tenant owned, park owned.
Park owned.
Okay, park owned, rent?
I think it's at $425.
Okay, $425.
Yep.
Probably similar here.
Similar, very similar.
Okay, $425.
Yep.
This one on the left?
These are, the majority of these until we get to the blue one are owned by the tenants. So all of these owned by the tenants here.
Okay.
And then this is park owned. This is another one that's, we're gonna rehab.
Okay.
That needs to be done. Same scenario, we found out that it just wasn't sanitary for somebody to be living in it, so we moved them out. Same with this one. We moved them out of this one. This one's actually almost
Rehab?
Almost.
How old are these?
It's in progress.
These are an older style, right? These
Yeah.
are
70s?
Yep. So, but each one of them, if we can get $500 or $600 worth of rent right here through this area,
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be remarkable.
Yeah.
It'd be absolutely remarkable. And then this one, rents for 800.
Oh,
I think
800.
this is, it's a larger unit. We painted it blue. We've got to redo the roof. It's now becoming.
I can see the
becoming an
bubbling
issue.
on it.
Yep. And then we've got this one here, number 12 to rehab, and number 13, we're in the process of having them go out and leave. That's a water heater, I know. It's a water heater pilot. We're in the process of having them move out and leave. So we're, because we don't think that that's sanitary for them to live in right now too.
Okay.
And then these are owned by the tenants. And just last week, we had one of these tenants here.
So they're just renting the dirt, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
What are they renting the dirt for?
They're renting the dirt for, I believe we're up to $275 now.
$275. Okay. I mean, they're not going anywhere.
I like
either.
what they've done with the front yard.
You know what's cool about this park, though, right? Like, think about this one park. This is a retirement for somebody. This one park, no money down, no credit check, no bank, no nothing. This park, after it's paid all the seller all the way off, let's say in 20 years, right? Who's the youngest person here? Darren? Okay, Kevin. So Kevin's 22 years old. Let's say in 27 years, he's 49 years old. The only asset he ever bought was this. How much is this asset giving him after he's paid the seller off for the seller finance? How much is that spitting out to him every single month after it's all paid off? That's more than enough to retire on in one asset, right? So a lot of people, no matter what you do, whether you seller finance the units, whether you keep the units, doesn't matter. Just the lot rent on this property alone could satisfy somebody's retirement. especially if you live in the $200 unit in the front. The seller gets paid out of the tenants. The tenants pay the rent. We make, I think, like about $5,000 a month on this after we pay Jimmy. Jimmy, everybody's paid. We have about $5,000 to $7,000 to play with, okay, somewhere around there. And we pay the seller, taxes, insurance, all that kind of stuff, and renovation out of that. So all the money that we're renovating is coming from cash flow he's collecting from the tenants.
And all this was underwritten, originally.
I mean, it's been a pain in the butt for Jimmy because basically what we've said is we don't want to spend money on repairs unless there's cash that came from the cash flow. And so that's why it's taken 3 years to get to where we're currently at. I could have gone to you, Angela. When did I meet you? A year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Okay, I could have gone to you a year and a half ago and said, hey, Angela, I know how rich you are. She's balling, guys, just so you know. So like, if you guys need money, she's got plenty of it. Give me $200,000. We're gonna go through and renovate, do everything to the park right now. But then I would have a $200,000 hard money loan on the property that would be something I have to now worry about and figure out, right? And we just chose to go a different route. And Yuma's kind of a sleepy town. I shouldn't say sleepy, but it's a slower growing town. So I just said, if I am gonna raise money and I am gonna be more aggressive, I'd rather do that in other markets, right? I don't wanna do that necessarily here and like expand rapidly here. I'd rather expand rapidly in markets that are growing and expanding faster. Here, I'd rather let Yuma do what Yuma's gonna do. And we can renovate slowly and we can play it slowly. So that was my decision I made at that time. But I also was a very different person 3.5 years ago when we bought this. I mean, I'm a different person every 12 months. So going back now, would I have made the same decision? Yes. I probably would have given Jimmy more money. I would have said, hey, here's 50 grand up front. Let's go and do it faster. If I had Bo 3 years ago, Bo would have almost forced me to do that. Bo would have been like, let's go get the 200 grand and let's get this done. Let's not make Jimmy go to the property, do 2 units, and then take a 6-month break, and then do 2 units, take a 6-month break. That's what Jimmy's been doing. Make sense?
Yeah.
But also as a new investor, it's perfectly okay to do that. And the problem we all have, I think when we first start investing in real estate is we think it's a get-rich scheme because we see me on social media, Thatch Win on social media, who's another buy and hold investor, Tim Bratz. You see these guys on social media and they're like, oh my gosh, they went from here to here in like 12 months. It's like, it's not how it works. How long did you go to college to go become a math professor?
More than 10 years.
More than 10 years. So if I can wait 5 years here, I'll make more money on this park in 5 years, no money out of pocket, than somebody would make going to school for 10 years to get a job. So I actually think it's twice as fast as anybody else. And when you reframe your mind that this is actually really rapid, I'm okay with the pace that we've been following on this one. It's really interesting to think about like the quality of life, right? So like when I first started real estate investing, I would look at a property like this. I'm like, what slumlord is owning this kind of stuff? But then when you actually talk to the residents, they have nowhere else they can go for this price. Nowhere. There's nothing else. Even Section 8 stuff is more expensive than this. Like, this is the best option for a lot of people. And I believe, as sad as this might be to say, I believe that we will be a nation in 20 years that 20% of our population will be living in stuff like this. Affordability will continue to plummet. And it's people like Jimmy, myself, Bo, that are providing affordable housing like this. Like somebody coming in here going, I can live here for $700 a month. You're joking me.
With my family.
With my family.
Yes, with kids, with family, husband, wife, 2 kids.
Think about somebody that's working for, like I just saw this article, somebody worked at Google making $19 an hour. They ran the YouTube media department and they were making $19 an hour. There was like 50 people on the team and they all lost their jobs. Did you see this article that popped up? Anyway, they got fired in one day because they were unionizing. It was an interesting thing, but I look at that and I'm like, if you have 2 kids, how do you survive on $19 an hour? No way. The only way you can is living in a place like us, like where we're at. Yeah. $400 here, $600 there, $700 here. So we're providing a very quality, like is it brand new flooring? No, but is it clean? Is it freshly painted? They're going to get a new stove. They're going to be able to be in here. And man alive, for a lot of people from other countries, this is like luxury, right?
Absolutely.
Our problem is you and I are both spoiled.
So spoiled.
So spoiled. We've flipped, I don't know, thousands of homes, and there was a year back in 2014, 2015 where all I was doing was mobile homes. And you know, we'd find kind of the little niches that nobody knew about, like they couldn't get financing under 1976, or it wasn't affixed to the land, and so it wasn't real estate. And we'd find these little things, and we'd make a lot of money flipping these properties. And what I found was I really enjoyed flipping mobile homes more than single family houses for one reason. And it was during the inspection period. People that are buying a mobile home or living in a mobile home are way less picky and way more grateful about where they're living than somebody who's, I would do a $700,000 house in Scottsdale, and the family that's coming in is blue taping every little last thing of like, oh, there's a ding in the wall, and they're blue taping everything. And I'm like, take me back to mobile homes where people are grateful and they're not entitled, right? And people walk in here, I know it sounds surprising for people who are watching this on YouTube, but there's a family that will come in here and go, dude, not only do we have a clean place, safe place to live, we actually can save money and not worry about hemorrhaging money and borrowing money and living on credit cards. We can actually save money here and raise a family. And it's kind of cool to be able to be a part of that. Again, you own this one asset, you're done. You'll never have to work another day in your life if you own this one asset. And you get to do something cool, you get to provide housing. So hopefully you guys learned something too at home. We'll make a couple of YouTube videos following up on this. I think what we'll do is we'll do a cool little series on this over the next couple of years where we put in the tiny homes. I think tiny home for sure here, because these have to be pulled out regardless. What does this prove to you? Proves a couple of things. Number one, holy crap, it's windy in Yuma. Number two, can you do real estate with no money out of your pocket?
Yes.
Can you do real estate with no money down?
Yes.
Can you do real estate without a credit check?
Yes.
Can you own a piece of real estate and still not make money 3 years later? Yes. Now, we've chosen not to, right? We've chosen to pour our profits into this. We're building future value for our portfolio, which is really freaking cool. And we can be proud of it too. So we'll see you in the video where Bo and I spend $200,000 on tiny homes, apparently. And we'll see you guys in the next video.